What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Talking Track. I'm Ryan Stillman, and with me, as always, is my amazing co-host, Aaron Halterman of Racing Dudes. Welcome back, Aaron.
Well, yeah, thanks, man. It's show number 2. Let's get it going. I'm excited for this week. We got a lot to talk about. Let's get to it.
Absolutely. Well, let's just recap something really quick. We had an incredible show last week. Aaron and I gave out winners for 2 of the 3 Kentucky Derby preps. Paul Withrow gave out a future bet at 22-1, which is now 14-1, and the second choice in the Kentucky Derby future wagers. Our number 1 ranked horse, Citizen Bull, came back and looked like a champion, Aaron. And my sister swiped left and right on 4 different horses that were running that week. And everything she said came true. They finished exactly as she called it based on their looks. We hope you cashed, and hopefully we can help you do that again this week. But before we get into that, we have some exciting news, guys. If you watch the Big Play Network, you know that we have a racehorse named Improbable Luck, and it's in collaboration with My Racehorse, and we have been covering him for months. So what's exciting is we have a race announced. It looks like February 22nd. He is going to be running at Oaklawn, and Talking Track will be live covering that race. So really excited. It's going to be super. Ken's going to be at the track. As you see him all over Big Play Net, going to be giving us live feed streaming. At least that's the plan for now. Super pumped. Anything like this before on a talk show. And so tune in the 22nd and check it out. Wishing Improbable Luck the best. With all that in mind, I think it's time to recap where we were last week, Aaron. You know, nobody watches more races day in and day out than my co-host, Aaron Halterman. He has a good eye for the landscape of racing. And last week, like we said, 3 major Derby preps. So let's see whose stock rose and whose stock dropped in Aaron's mind. Aaron, let's start with the Withers. You had a stock rise on Captain Cook. Talk to me about it, brother.
Yeah, well, the Withers Stakes was a little bit better than I thought it would be, actually. If you remember last week, we're like, I don't know how good this race is going to be. We'll kind of see. But Captain Cook, the winner of the race, he was much more impressive than I even thought he would be. And that's saying something because I did pick him to win the race. So Captain Cook was my pick to win the race. I didn't think he was that good of a horse, but when you watch the race and you see what he did, I thought he was really, really solid. So Captain Cook, stock up.
Absolutely. And you gave out a great pick there. I hope some people cashed in on it. Now let's talk about stock down on Uncle Jim. Tell me why.
Yeah, Uncle Jim, kind of a heavily hyped horse after a debut victory for Brad Cox. He just has not been good in his last 2 races. The allowance race, 2 races back, not very good. This race, no excuse. He was in a great spot on the lead, not very good again. So Uncle Jim, a definite stock down.
You know, honestly, before we even move on to something, Aaron, I got to say stock down so far for Brad Cox as far as finding a real live horse. And we're going to see that played throughout. Although when we get to the Holy Bull, maybe add a little bit more success. But Uncle Jim, trained by Brad Cox, just not off to the year I think we were all hoping for. Let's talk about Mo Quality, another stock down for you. Tell us why, bro.
Yeah, another horse, Mo Quality. He was sitting in a perfect spot with Uncle Jim. Actually, they were kind of head and head, and they were really relaxed on the front end. And like Uncle Jim, Mo Quality fades pretty badly in the stretch. Nowhere to be found as they hit the wire. So, unfortunately, stock down for Mo Quality. He was a horse that had some hype, but as of right now, he just doesn't look like he's going to live up to it.
Let's go to Florida. Aaron, the Holy Bull. We had a pretty exciting horse named Burnham Square. Stock up for you. Talk about it, brother.
Yeah, who wouldn't want to be in Florida right now? Great weather down there where we're cold everywhere else. But yes, Burnham Square, a stock up for me. This horse is getting better with each start. You know, his race before the Holy Bull, you could kind of tell he was starting to be pretty good. Then he shows up in this race and was fantastic. So Burnham Square comes from out of it, gets the job done. I'm excited about him, a definite stock up.
Aaron, we have a runner-up that you're giving a stock up to. Talk about it, brother. Tappan Street. What's up?
Yeah, Tappan Street. We talked about Brad Cox and how he wasn't doing so well. This one was okay. This was just the second start of his career, talking about Tappan Street in the Holy Bull Stakes. He ran very well to run second. He wasn't close to the winner. That's the bad news. The good news is he should be able to improve off this effort. So Tappan Street, definitely stock up.
Yeah, and some sharp people actually thinking that Tappan Street might have been the better horse coming out of that race. I'm not commenting either way, but very interesting to note. Yeah, I kind of feel the same, Aaron, but some people that felt he looked pretty good there. So keep an eye on him. Second race. Okay, you got 2 stock downs, and these might be hard stock downs, I have a feeling. Let's start with your first. Guns Loaded. Stock down for you? Why?
It has to be, right? Now, so he won the last time out, 2 races back, at a mile in the Mucho Macho Man, and he was slowing down hardcore in that race. They stretched out to a mile and 16th in a Holy Bull, and he didn't want any part of it. He's stocked down as far as the Derby trail. He'll still might be an okay horse, but he's not a Kentucky Derby type horse. And your sister even said so. She swiped left. I get it. Guns loaded, stock down.
All right. Well, there's another hard stock down for you, brother. Ferocious, a horse people were super high on. How far has this stock dropped for you? Let's talk about it.
It can't get any lower right now for Ferocious, a horse that started with a way stock up, an incredible win over the summer in his debut race. Everybody was raving about him. He hasn't won since, and this was by far the worst performance of his career in the Holy Bull. He finished fourth, and he was well beaten. He got beat by a horse for third that really had no business passing him. Major stock down for Ferocious.
Do you give him another chance? Or are you completely off Ferocious, by the way?
I'm off Ferocious unless they cut him back in distance. I really think he needs to go back to that debut distance of 6-7 furlongs. I think that's where you're going to see him at his best, when they've stretched him out to 2 turns going 1.16 miles. We just haven't seen it from him.
Totally makes sense to me. Now let's go to the Robert B. Lewis, which I think honestly was the most exciting of the 3 preps coming into it. You had the return of the champion Citizen Bull. He was our number 1 ranked horse. Aaron, talk about Citizen Bull. Stock up for me, stock up for you?
Yeah, it has to be stock up. If you like Citizen Bull going into the race, I don't know how you don't like him coming out of it. Look, it was just a 5-horse field. He got an easy lead. I know people are going to try to poke holes over it, but this was pretty much flawless. He stumbled just a bit out of the gate. It didn't hurt him at all. He gets right to the front, takes him gate to wire. I was super impressed. It's exactly what I wanted to see from our number 1 horse. It's just February. You don't want to see him just go crazy and run their biggest race in February. You want to see a nice controlled victory. That's exactly what he did. Completely stock up on Citizen Bull.
We'll talk about him a bit more when we discover if our updated Derby lists have changed or anything happened, because this was a major moment on the trail for us. So stay tuned for more on Citizen Bull. All right, Rodriguez. He was a big hyped horse coming in. Stock up for you, Aaron. Talk to us. What's up with Rodriguez?
This was a weird race for Rodriguez. He was a very immature type of horse, so he did not get the lead like we thought he would. So he was racing on the inside of horses. He kind of just stopped and went backwards, and I thought, oh no, maybe something's wrong with him. But then they moved him to the outside. They kind of kept him away from the other horses, kept him from getting dirt in his face, and he calmed down, and then he made a big move. Now, he wasn't close to beating Citizen Bull, but I still thought he ran on really well, and I thought he got a lot out of the race, a nice learning experience, so to speak, for Rodriguez. So I think some people are like, I don't know about him after this. I still kind of like him, Ryan. I would keep an eye on Rodriguez. Don't give up on this horse yet. I was pretty impressed with what I saw once he finally got comfortable.
Yeah, honestly, Aaron, it might have been the best losing effort as far as, that we've seen. For me, I like that he had multiple gears, and for goodness sakes, only horse he didn't beat was the champion, and there's no shame in that. He was stepping up from his first win. Rodriguez is impressive, and that's the kind of effort we've seen, Aaron, where they might not win a prep and then they peak on a big day. So I'm with you. I would not throw Rodriguez out, and I think there might be a Derby prep out there that he pulls off. I just think there was levels at this minute, don't you?
I totally agree with that. I do think there is a Derby prep out there for this horse. And I think, again, he's a horse that likes to race on the lead. And when that didn't happen, and when his stablemate Citizen Bull kind of beat him to the punch, it really messed up half to 3/4 of his race. He just wasn't comfortable. But he's got a lot of natural speed, Ryan. So I think what will happen in the next race, they'll get him out in front. And then I think he's going to be a lot harder to catch. So I think he got a lot out of it. I wouldn't give up on him. He's slowly kind of developing. Rodriguez is still on the radar for me.
Absolutely. Me too. And Aaron had no stock downs for the rest of the field. I love that thinking too, buddy. I would agree with you. Very interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Good. Let's focus on what's coming up, because we have swiping with my sister to get to. And I think that's going to be a highlight of the show, because we have some big horses coming up. Guys, after the break, swiping with my sister. Aaron, can he go 4 for 5, 5 for 5? Let's find out on the other side of this break. We'll be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back. We're here to play another round of everyone's favorite game, Swiping with My Sister. Okay, you know how it works, Aaron. I showed my sister, who's a champion equestrian rider, 5 Derby horses, and she had to swipe left or right on the horse for the Derby based solely on looks. She's got great insight. Let's see if you can go 5 for 5 again, Aaron. You went 4 for 5 last week, but it was a dang good run. Are you ready for this again?
I've been waiting all week for this. Yes, I'm so ready. Let's do it.
Okay, let's start off with the first horse. Now, this is Getaway Car. Now, Aaron, did my sister swipe left or right on Getaway Car for the Derby based on what she saw?
I'm going to go with swipe left on this one. I just feel like that's the right call. This could go either way. I'm going to go swipe left.
Let's see.
I don't know. I'd probably swipe left on this one. I don't love the way that it looks. I think it's a little funky in the back end. The gait is a little bit odd. I do think it's nice that he carries himself up high. I think he has a potential to be, you know, in the top 5, but I don't know about this one. I don't, this one's throwing me off a little bit, but it looks a little bit odd. A little bit sore, maybe even in the back end. Just a little weird.
Interesting. He's the one that throws me off, and congrats for the points, Aaron, because, you know, he's flashed moments of I'm completely over him, and then I'm like, maybe he's one you never throw out of your super. You know what I mean? So I like that answer too, don't you?
It was interesting how like I was on the fence about what she would say, and then she was kind of on the fence about what to do. So I thought that was very interesting. Yeah, and said he might be a little sore on the back end, and that's interesting as well because he's got a pedigree that goes long, but he doesn't really like to run long. So that's very interesting to me.
Absolutely. So we'll see what happens with him. We'll probably learn a lot more in his next race. All right, Aaron, this next horse, let's take a look at an undefeated, untested horse rated by merit. Right or left for my sister based on looks?
We're going right. I think he's beautiful. You know, and again, I'm looking at him as I think he's a pretty horse. I don't know how horses are like configured like she does, but I think you got to swipe right on this one. I love it.
Let's see.
I would swipe right on this one. I think this one's a wild card. It's incredibly well balanced. I love the back end and the front end. I think he's got the right muscle structure for both end. And I think this one will surprise you guys. I think this one could end up winning. This is an interesting horse. I think if it can go the distance, it has the potential.
Very interesting. And great job, Aaron. You and her again synced up just like telekinetically. It's incredible. You know, as of now, Aaron, his last work when I looked was on November 20th of last year. And that concerns me. It's kind of do or die from him, Aaron. If you follow John White, one of the things he preaches is you got to start by like mid-February if you're going to make the Derby. So I'd say next week or, you know, like the week after, and that's it. That's really pushing it, don't you? He's got to show up on the work tab.
Yeah, he's injured, I believe. I don't think he's going to make it to the Derby. We may see him in some of the later races, though. Kind of got to be a little bit more patient with him. But regardless, keep an eye out on him because he is really talented.
Absolutely. And, you know, speaking of really talented, next up is a horse who's making many Kentucky Derby lists. You asked me last week why I didn't show you a picture of him for my sister. Here he is, Sandman. Left or right on Sandman for my sister?
Oh, boy, that's tough. I'm going to go right on this one, but I'm not 100% sure. I do think he's quite the looker. I think he's put together really well. So let's go right.
All right, let's see.
I would swipe left on this one. I don't love the way that it's carrying its back end. I think it potentially could cause some sort of an injury, if not now down the road. I don't know, something's a little off about it. Again, I love the way it carries its front end. It's a little bit hard to tell in this photo, but again, carrying its butt very low, and I don't like that.
Listen, you were really torn there, and I understand why. Why don't we go into it? Because I think I feel why you are. For me, I'm not fully sold on Sandman. That might come back to haunt me. I feel like the last race was a little sus, brother. You know, he stumbled. Patch Adams, I don't know how good he is. Speed King had it all his own way. Gaming didn't show up. I don't know. So I'm not saying he's bad. I'm just saying I haven't seen enough. And, you know, it's a little sus. Is that where you were coming from with you didn't know either?
You know, when she was talking about the conformation of the horse, I think it's interesting because what happened in his last race, he had all kinds of issues. He did not get out of the gate very well. He got bumped around and he got in some trouble. Some wasn't his fault. Some maybe kind of was. And then she kind of describes the horse like that. It's like, well, maybe he just kind of has some things that make him a little bit clunky. I don't know. Again, the surprising thing about the segments, I really have learned a lot from your sister on the horses. So, you know, thinking about it more, that does make sense a little bit.
Absolutely. And we'll find out more about Speed King. And looks aren't everything, right? Goofy horses do good things. But if we're looking on looks, there is that goofiness there. And I think he's by Tappet, Aaron. And those horses tend to be a little goofy. Yeah, so we'll find out. Let's go to the horse who won that race, though, Speed King.
I'm going to go left on this one. I go left.
Let's see.
I would swipe left on this one. This one just doesn't do anything for me. I think it's a little bit underwhelming. It doesn't have a lot of muscle tone on it, and it carries itself a little bit low and doesn't look like it has a tremendous stride. So it just doesn't really do anything for me.
Yeah, I think that's fair, don't you, Aaron? Based on the look of that horse, you know, you put him right by side. I would agree.
Well, the reason why I said left is he's kind of outrunning what they maybe like at the auctions and when they sell these horses, what they maybe thought this horse would be, right? Like you don't look at this one and go, whoa, crazy pedigree and millions of dollars were sold. He's kind of outrunning, what he was supposed to be. But he's showing toughness more than showing like this is a beautiful horse, that type of thing.
Yeah, and that's what's fun about him. He's a perfect example of you can't judge a book by its cover. He's never been out of the money, never worse than second in 3 starts. He's done enough to almost make the Derby at this point, Aaron. So yeah, exactly. It's just sometimes you can't see those intangibles, but he might be heading for a fall in these next preps. I don't know. He might have maxed out on that talent. We're going to see, though. I don't take anything away from a horse with that resume. Let's look at a horse, though, that's running this week. He's undefeated, and the horses keep coming back to flatter him. Poster. Did my sister swipe left or right on Poster?
I got to match this 4-for-5 record right here. I'm going to say left on Poster.
Okay, let's see.
Based off of this photo, that's a little bit hard to tell. I do like the length of its stride, and I think it's got a lot of heart. I like the back end, and I think it's got a lot of potential. I like this one. I would swipe right on this one. I think this one has a potential to win. I don't know, what it could do on a long distance track, but I would put money on it. I think he's got potential to be in the top 3.
Aaron, I know there because you're a competitive guy there and you might be thinking, but what was interesting is she didn't necessarily love him for the Derby on that picture. She just felt like he had that winning thing. So you even looked like it was tricky. I think that one's a tricky one too, just like Sandman, don't you?
Yeah, and it's hard to get a good picture of him because he's only been in one like huge race. And it was that race where they were side by side there. So it's really hard to get a good picture. I want to revisit Poster when you get a better picture. Okay. And we'll see what she says.
I absolutely agree. But for now, interesting insight from my sister. We thank her so much for that. Aaron, not bad at all. Honestly, these were some very tricky ones. That's why we have someone looking at looks for them. We'll play again next week. But for now, that's swiping with my sister. When we come back, we got to get to our Kentucky Derby list. A lot of big prep races. Were there any changes? There could have been. Let's take a look. Find out on the other side of this break. Come back. All right, everybody. Welcome back to Talking Track. Aaron, let's take a look at our updated top 5 Kentucky Derby list, brother. And once again, Aaron, we have the same 5 horses, no changes. I spoke a lot last week. Why don't we go through yours bottom to top? Because you could take a victory lap here on Citizen Bull. Not everyone was as high on them as we have been. And why don't we start with Barnes for you and work our way up? What do you say?
Yeah, great idea with Barnes. We'll start there. Look, this is a really nice Bob Baffert horse. He's 2 for 2 right now in his career. And look, he broke his maiden at Churchill Downs. They took him to Churchill Downs, which is kind of different for Bob Baffert to do with a horse running for the first time, and was great and really got a lot out of the race. Just barely beat a horse named Innovator, who was a pretty good horse, who's come back to win, ran 3rd in a Kentucky Derby prep race as well. So that was a nice win for a debuting horse versus a horse with a lot of experience. And then you go back last time out, winning the San Vicente. I mean, just did it in impressive fashion. The one pause is we haven't seen this horse go 2 turns. His races have been just 1-turn races. 7 furlongs is the longest we've seen from him. So that's the question mark, right? How will he do when he goes 2 turns? That doesn't mean he can't do it. It just means we don't know yet.
Aaron, just before we move on to the next horse, for people that are newer to racing, they go, well, what do you mean? He won by a pole. Why should 2 turns stop him? Could you kind of maybe explain why that is worth being a concern? Because they might just go, I don't understand. Why wouldn't he be able to get the distance? It is a concern.
Yeah, absolutely. So some horses just can only run 3/4 of a mile or 7/8 of a mile. And that's where they're really, really at their best. And they accelerate at their best going that distance. And then when they go a little bit longer, whether it's the pedigree doesn't quite suggest the horse can go longer, or the horse just simply doesn't want to run that long, they really don't have that burst of energy. So if they run a mile and a 16th, let's say, and they're really truly a sprinter type of horse, they'll look pretty good until you get past that like 7 furlong mark. And then you go, okay, time to kick it in. And the horse just kind of flattens out and other horses with more energy pass them. So that's always the big time question mark. Until we see it, we just never really know.
Fantastic insight. All right, let's take a look at your number 4 horse, Aaron. Why don't we talk a little bit about journalism?
Yeah, Journalism is a horse that's going to run in the San Felipe coming up March 1st, hopefully March 1st at Santa Anita. You never know with horses, but that's where he's targeting. And we're going to find out a lot about him then. He's probably going to go up against one of these better Bob Baffert horses. Now, last time out in Los Alamitos for Charity, when we saw him as a 2-year-old, he looked awesome. I mean, he just galloped to a very easy win. He is a horse that won at a mile and 16th. He is a horse that projects to go longer, so very well. So I think Journalism solid here at number 4. We're going to just wait and see where or when he's ready to run and judge him then on March 1st.
Absolutely. And let's move on to your number 3 horse, Aaron. Talk a little bit about Sovereignty.
Sovereignty reminds me of a lot of Journalism, right? The horse ran in 1-turn races and couldn't quite get the job done. Stretched out to 2 turns last time out in the Streets and Stakes at Churchill Downs as a 2-year-old. Looked like a totally different horse, just dominated the race, looked amazing. And so the flip side of like with Barnes, hey, we know he's a good sprinter. We're not sure about a router. With Sovereignty, we know he's not best at sprinting, but we know he can go long and we know he should get better the longer they go. He's just like Journalism. He's in training right now. We don't have a concrete race nailed down for him yet, but he should be showing up in March. And so we'll get a better look at him then.
By the way, guys, Aaron, if you listened to the last show, he said, don't worry about him not working out at that second. Aaron had faith. He said, Bill Mott's a little bit of a patient trainer. All that was true. He said, don't panic, which of course I do. And Aaron calls me up and says, relax. Guys, great news. Sovereignty is back. He recorded his second start of the year on January 31st. It pays to listen to Aaron Halterman. So thank you for that, buddy. And I think it's wise to know we got some time here. He's coming along nice. And let's go to your number 2 horse, Aaron, East Avenue. Let's talk about him, buddy. Let's talk about him.
Yeah, just real quick on what you just said, but you were right when we were talking about rated by merit earlier. We're 2 to 3 weeks away from hit the panic button. So just keep that in mind. If you really love a horse and they're not working in a couple of weeks, maybe don't love them so much. But yes, East Avenue, speaking of a horse that I love, I just think this horse, other than the biggest stage, the Breeders' Cup as a 2-year-old, unfortunately, was a total disaster for him, and I just hate that. He stumbled out of the gate badly and just had no chance. Every step on the racetrack, minus that day, he's been perfect. His 2 races, other than the Breeders' Cup, I just fell in love with this horse watching him. He's working out incredibly well. He's going to run, hopefully, next weekend in the Risen Star Stakes at Fairgrounds. You can bet we're going to be covering that race on the show next week, and we'll talk about East Avenue a lot. He's working out well, just like with Sovereignty, just like with Journalism. We're waiting to see. We're going to see East Avenue next week, and we'll have a much better judgment on him, but I'm excited for next week.
Absolutely, Aaron. And I think personally, man, I you deserve to take a victory lap, give them the clap sound effects, all these things, because Citizen Bull, you're number 1. People were saying these juvenile champions, they don't come back and look that good. He's a nothing burger. Forget about him. Dude, to me, Aaron, he came out of the gate. I'm being honest. He stumbled a little bit, kept going. And it felt like from that moment on, you could just tell if you watch enough racing, he was not going to lose that day. He was there to win. It's like a pitcher when they get hot and you're like, this game's over. Talk to me about it. I want to hear everything about Citizen Bull for you, buddy.
Well, first of all, the talk about the Breeders' Cup juvenile winner maybe doesn't come back quite as strongly as a 3-year-old. That does happen. I'm not rebutting that. That does happen. That's a real thing. But with Citizen Bull, the thing that I kept faith with him is Bob Baffert said last year before he won the Breeders' Cup juvenile, he said, this horse will be better as a 3-year-old. We may not see him win this race today, but he's going to be much better as a 3-year-old. The last horse he said that about was National Treasure, who, guess what, went on to win the Preakness as a 3-year-old after not winning the big one as a 2-year-old. Citizen Bull is just a bonus that he won that race, the Breeders' Cup. And look at him now. He ran very well in the Breeders' Cup. His first race as a 3-year-old, it was better than the Breeders' Cup. So what Bob Baffert says is true, and this horse does truly develop and get better and better as a 3-year-old. I don't really care that he won the juvenile because the best trainer in the world says he's going to be better this year than he was last year. So Citizen Bull, number 1 for me. I was over the moon excited about it. It wasn't crazy flashy, and that's fine. We don't want to be crazy flashy in February. We want to be flashy in May. So I'm very excited for Citizen Bull.
I agree, Aaron. I feel like this crop, everybody gets excited. Where's American Pharaoh? Where's Justify? There's not always one of those guys. This doesn't at this second appear to be a crop. East Avenue could turn into that horse. Citizen Bull can start growing up and get better. But at this minute, you don't need to be that good to beat what we're seeing here. Speed Kings, all these horses that we're seeing up here. aren't world beaters at the second. It's not a knock on him. It's just looking at where the crop is. Aaron, what I liked about this horse is he's the first horse on the trail that gave me the feeling of like, if you said you have one bet for your life, a horse has to hit the board or win the Derby, I feel good putting it down on him. That's how I felt coming out of that race. Citizen Bull for me feels like the money horse for it. He's going to be in the Derby now. So exciting. We'll see what happens next. East Avenue, he could circle the field and come up on top of our list very shortly. But very exciting stuff, guys. Keep tuned. We're going to keep monitoring these things. Top fives are always fun. It's what we live for. These are the next superstars. And look, I think right now we're going to go to a break. We'll come back. We've got some What the Bleeps, Aaron. This is a little levity on the show. Let's have a little fun. Guess if you can see what people were saying again at the Eclipse Awards. We have 4 more clips for you. Come back. What the Bleep with Aaron Halterman and I. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome back to Talkin' Trap. Hey guys, it's time for another game of What the Bleep.
It's time to play What the Did That Horseman Say?
Aaron, you know how this game works. Last week we did What the Bleep Eclipse Award style. I have 4 more phenomenal clips for you this week, buddy. I thought let's play them because I want to get your opinions on a few things. And this first clip comes from someone who's a darling to racing. She's someone everybody knows, respects, and loves, Brittany Urton, and she's talking after Idiomatic won back-to-back champion, older male. Let's hear the clip.
Congratulations again to the team of Idiomatic. Now, it's a tall order for an Eclipse champion, older female, to herself.
All right. All right, Aaron. What is a tall order for a champion older female to do to herself?
Wow. I love you chose Brittany Urton. Were you playing the drums in the background there when she was talking? It's tough. Oh, gosh.
I think the next category it might help you, Aaron, was a breeder, if that helps. That was what the introduction was.
Reproduce herself. You just gave it, or you shouldn't have said that. Reproduce herself.
Let's see.
Congratulations again to the team of Idiomatic. Now, it's a tall order for an Eclipse champion, older female, to reproduce herself.
Very good, Aaron. I had to give a little bit of help to my boy because there's so many things there. That one's a little tricky. That's a little tricky.
I just wanted it to be what you bleeped. You know what I mean? Like, I wanted her to say it so bad that I couldn't get past it.
If she said that, it would break the horse racing Twitterverse. If you guys are on there, you know what I mean. That would have been a moment for the
ages. If she specifically says it, that's the funniest thing to ever happen in my whole life. So.
Yes, shout out to her. Just one of the classiest people too in racing. So shout out to Brittany. We're big fans here. Aaron, really quick question though on this Idiomatic's con. Torpedo Anna is now the champion older mare, in my opinion, to beat this year, obviously, horse of the year, right? So who's her biggest competition? One name if you had to throw it out there.
Yeah, look, that's a tough one. Maybe we'll get an answer in the Bayakoa a little bit later because she's going to race at Oaklawn. So maybe that's something. But right now, I don't think there is one on her level. I'll put it that way.
I agree with you. We'll talk about maybe who could be in the Bayakoa when we give you guys some picks there. All right, here is the team accepting champion female sprinter for Soul of an Angel in the first clip.
First of all, I'm up here because Mark Cornett, who actually found the filly and put the deal together, was a late scratch. So I get the honor of accepting on behalf of the ownership group and the rest of the up here.
If I was at the Eclipse Awards accepting an award, that's what I would say.
Yeah. So but since you weren't, Aaron, on behalf of the ownership and the rest of the blanks up here, what's the word?
Well, I think it starts with an F, and it's not what people think. I think it's folks, all these folks up here.
Let's see.
First of all, I'm up here because Mark Cornett, who actually found the filly and put the deal together, was a late scratch. So I get the honor of accepting on behalf of the ownership group and the rest of the folks up here.
Fantastic work, Aaron. Fantastic work. The What the Bleep champ returns, folks. The champion female sprinter, she won Soul of an Angel. The runners up in that category were Ways and Means and Society. It was weird, by the way. Those were the finalists, and Sweet Azteca came in second in the voting. So don't ask me why. When
Really?
they put up, yeah, it said finalists here, and then when I looked at the voting, Sweet Azteca was second. But Ways and Means, Society, Sweet Azteca. Would you have voted for any of them over Sullivan Angel if you had a vote, Aaron? Or was she the winner?
Hashtag horse racing. Yeah, look, I think no, because it was a wide open event, or wide open category going into the Breeders' Cup. Soul of Angel gets the job done, so you give her the award. I don't think she'll repeat. I don't think she's just otherworldly, but she deserved it for sure. She deserved the award.
Absolutely. And that Breeders' Cup, that was one of the highlight races of it for me, by the way. It was a really fun So check it out if you guys haven't seen it. Okay, let's hear them again. One more clip from the Soul of an Angel team.
I want to start by saying I know I'm a little but this is a throwback mare.
This guy was great, dude. He was great this night. Okay, he's going to start by saying, I know I'm a little blank, but this is a throwback mare.
I guess biased. I know I'm a little biased, but or hold on. Could be old school. No, I'll go biased.
Let's see.
I want to start by saying I know I'm a little biased, but this is a throwback mare.
My goodness, Aaron, fantastic work. All right, let's talk about that really quickly, just for 1 second. Soul of an Angel raced 12 times in 2024. She even gave Idiomatic a little run for her money in the one time they raced. You know what I mean, run for the money, but it was a very good performance. She's kind of a mini Iron Horse to me. Do you like seeing when a horse runs that much, Aaron? It's just kind of uncommon, to his point.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. When I first got into racing, horses would run a little more often than they do now. And that's great. I think that's how you kind of, build up, a fan base, basically. If just think of just think football, for example. If you have this great quarterback, but you only see the quarterback once every 6 weeks, so it's kind of harder to get behind him, but when you have a horse that's running once a month, basically, you got a better idea of, wow, she's back today. This will be fun. I watched her last month, that kind of stuff. So yeah, I like to see that for sure.
Same thing here, Aaron. Okay, last clip, Ken McPeak on stage for Torpedo Anna's Horse of the Year.
I've got a fantastic team of guys. Robbie Alvarado gets on horses. Kevin Ryan rolls them up and down the road. Greg Moorhead rolls them up and down the road.
All right. So Kevin Ryan blanks them up and down the road, and Greg Moorhead blanks them up and down the road.
You've outdone yourself this week. I'm going to say walk them up and down the road.
Let's hear.
I've got a fantastic team of guys. Robbie Alvarado gets on horses. Kevin Ryan rolls them up and down the road. Greg Moorhead rolls them up and down the road.
Now, Aaron, I've been in racing a while. I have never heard anyone say he rolls them up and down the road. So this one was sort of like the bonus round, because I honestly was thinking maybe I'm wrong and that was a term. Have you ever heard somebody say that?
That's you being a bleep right there. That's what that is.
Yeah, what bleep am I this week? Okay, no, fantastic. We're going to call that one. Like if it was a game show, they'd say, okay, that question doesn't count. But fantastic work, Aaron. Before we go, Aaron, Kenny McPeak has now won a Kentucky Derby, Preakness Stakes, Belmont Stakes, Travers Stakes, Kentucky Oaks, not to mention a single Breeders' Cup race, but it is the distaff. He's had a Horse of the Year. My question to you before we head to break, does that do it for him to get into the Hall of Fame, in your opinion? Is that enough?
Honestly, last year probably pushed it to where he should. I've kind of been critical of him in the past, not as a person. I think he's a great person, but maybe sometimes his training methods. But last year, he kind of proved all of us wrong that said that kind of stuff. Yeah, I absolutely do believe he should be in the Hall of Fame.
I think so too. Shout out to Ken McPeak, one of the good guys in the game. Love that he's letting people in and seeing these horses so close and personally. And that's the end of our Clips Award, What the Bleep Show. Aaron, fantastic job. Shout out to everybody that won, including Ken Miles, who works at Big Blay here, Moment of the Year with Seize the Gray, and Straight No Chaser for my racehorse, who I covered extensively in my newsletter. I'm so happy, excited to see him race in Saudi Arabia. What a year we have ahead, Aaron. We're going to go bleep ourselves as we go to a break right now. We'll see you guys on the other side when we're going to give you free picks and help you make some money. Stay tuned to Talkin' Track. All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. It's part of the fun of racing. It's making money when you get a little edge. No one has more of a handle on things than Aaron to me. I love racingdudes.com. I've cashed with them before. And today we're excited to talk about, we were just mentioning Torpedo Anna, who could possibly be a threat to her. Aaron, let's talk about the Bayakoa Stakes. It's on Saturday. It's a really exciting prep, I think, for the Apple Blossom, which is the race you want to win if you want to be a champion older mare. I expect Torpedo Anna is probably circling that. Do you think this is an exciting rendition as far as like, all right, new year, who dis? Who can take on Torpedo Anna?
Perfect setup because Torpedo Anna, our reigning horse of the year, she is targeting the Apple Blossom, and she also could be running in the Azeri, which is the race right before the Apple Blossom. So we could see her twice at Oaklawn Park. The Bayakoa is the third race in that sequence. So it goes Bayakoa, then it goes Azeri, and then it goes Apple Blossom. So the Azeri and the Apple Blossom, two very important races for older fillies and mares. So long way of saying, these are kind of the local hopefuls that will be the challengers for Torpedo Anna when she does come back. And we've got a good field. There's only 6 horses, but we do have a pretty good field in here. I really like the number 6, Loved. I'll talk about her here for a second. This is a horse that, while I don't think can beat Torpedo Anna just because she's that good, if somebody can, it might be Loved. This is a pretty nice horse. Last time out, won the Falls City handicap at Churchill Downs. That was a grade 3 event and did it so easily. And beat a horse named Tarifa, who, unfortunately, Torpedo Anna has stomped Tarifa a couple times as well. But Love shows that, hey, I'm up against a good horse here. I just put that horse away, no problem. She has lost some races like to Idiomatic, which a horse we talked about a little bit earlier, really nice horse. 4 races back. Loved another nice win at Indiana in a really tough stakes race. So she's got the class to show up here in the Bayakoa for sure and get the job done. Brendan Walsh, very good trainer. And Tyler Gaffleone, the regular rider who doesn't normally ride at Oaklawn. He's usually down at Gulfstream Park in Florida. It looks like he's coming up to Oaklawn pretty much. I mean, he's got other mounts, but this is the one he really wants to ride. He jumps aboard Loved. And that tells me they think this is a serious horse. They think this horse could be getting better with age. So I really like number 6, Loved, on top in the Bayakoa.
Interesting, Aaron. That's an exciting thing to hear, man, because again, with mares, it's really weird. We've seen this with like a good colt. They tend to stay in their form. Maybe they throw in a clunker every once in a while, but with a mare, they can either just go really bad overnight. It's like, I want to be a mom, or they can take off overnight. And you're like, where did this come from? She's a superstar. If you were looking for somebody to beat Loved, who would be your first choice, man?
Well, unfortunately, I think it's a 2-horse race between the number 6 Loved and the number 1 Corningstone. Now, the problem is they're both, short prices, so that's a little bit of an issue. I don't think there's a way to just make a ton of money in this race. I think it is going to be pretty chalky. But let's talk about Corningstone. Almost picked this horse to win. This horse has actually won 2 straight races at Oaklawn against kind of similar company. This is a little bit tougher because Loved is in the field, but, similar company and has done it very nicely. Now, here's kind of the funny thing. Kenny McPeak, the trainer of Torpedo Anna, also trains Corningstone. So it's kind of a fill it out situation. Okay, I'll throw Corningstone up against Loved. We'll kind of measure up here. Let's see if Corningstone can beat Loved. Because if she can, well, sure as hell, the horse of the year is going to be able to beat her that I've got in my barn. So a nice little kind of litmus test, if you will, for Corningstone here. But again, like I said, really good races over the local track here at Oaklawn, which is important. Oaklawn is located within a national forest. And so what that kind of means is you can't use certain chemicals on their track. So the track does play a little bit different than every other track in the country that can kind of use chemicals. And what I mean by that is say it gets cold and the track freezes up. Well, other places can kind of treat the track so it doesn't do that. At Oaklawn, it's just like, well, it's there till it melts type of stuff. So it's a much more natural type of surface. Some horses do struggle over it, so that's kind of why Loved. I still like the horse. I think she's better than Corningstone, but that's Corningstone's advantage. She's been there at the track. She's worked out over it. She's got 2 wins over it. So if you prefer the 1 over the 6 because of that reason, I don't really blame you. I just think the 6 is a little bit better than the 1, but Corningstone, big shot in here for sure.
That's what we love about having you on, Aaron. I mean, talk about insight, the way the tracks run and all these things coming together. No, it's very helpful. And so, okay, you come here. I want to hear, like, if I had a one-on-one with Aaron, my main question would be, okay, I get it. This is a chalkier race. But how do I make some money on it? Of course, you can bet the favorite. Is there anyone underneath that you're like, I like a price here if I'm going to have to play and take a swing? Anyone hit your...
Yeah, like I said, it's a little tougher with this one because we don't have that deep field. It kind of reminds me of the Robert B. Lewis last weekend, Ryan, where it was 5 horses and it looked kind of top heavy. This kind of seems the same. But the number 2, Wild About Hillary, I thought this was an interesting horse. Last time out, this horse won by 5 1/4 lengths at Fairgrounds in a stakes race. Now, it wasn't as tough of a stakes race as what some of these other ones have been running at, but still, I thought it was a good race. Also, this first Wild About Hillary seems to be rounding into form, running better with each start, and we're getting 10 to 1. And I think you'll get every bit of that. So there are some positives there that I really like. Again, I don't really know that she can win the race, but if you want to play her in second and third, maybe put Loved on top or Corningstone, whichever one you might want to do, and then put Wild About Hillary in second or third. I think that does make sense. Again, she's getting better with each start. I think the way she's working out since that last race, kind of you can see the light bulb come on a little bit. She's starting to round into some pretty good form. So the number 2, Wild About Hillary at 10 to 1 makes a little bit of sense to me. Another thing to note, Tanner Tracy claims this horse. He's a pretty darn good trainer. He's not a household name. Like when you think of Corningstone with Kenny McPeak, you think of Love with Brendan Walsh. Those are the who's who kind of trainers. Those are heavily respected guys. Respect Tanner Tracy a bit as well. He's a pretty solid trainer. He hits at 16%. That's pretty darn good for a trainer. Kind of the smaller tracks is where he likes to hang out and run his horses. But keep an eye on this one. I think it's a long shot worth looking at.
I love it, man. So you play underneath would be your thing there?
Yep. I think so. I have trouble going against the 6 or the 1, but I do think the 2 can get second or third and maybe, make your exacta pay a little bit more than maybe it should.
All right, well, that's the race to watch this week, guys, as far as outside of the Triple Crown, keeping an eye on, is anyone a threat to Torpedo Anna? Is anyone going to step up? Yeah, I'm with you, Aaron. I'm shaking, but you know what? Let's see if Loved is improving. Let's see what she is. Let's get through this first. And honestly, Torpedo Anna, guys, we have to keep in mind, after that Travers, as great as she is, she kind of took a dip down there, right? Her next race wasn't necessarily her best. And at the Breeders' Cup, a lot of horses fell out. So I would not go against Torpedo Anna at this second with anything I'm seeing out there. But if someone's improving and she's declining, could get very interesting. But I'm not setting up that situation, Aaron, but that's maybe what's coming to play. But let's get to the Kentucky Derby prep of the week coming up next. After the break, Aaron and I are going to talk to you about the Sam F. Davis, the probables that are in there. We're really excited. We have a hot take on this, guys. You're not going to want to miss it. The Sam F. Davis, come on back, talk track with us. All right, guys, welcome back to Talkin' Track. The Sam F. Davis is this weekend. We don't have the fields yet as far as this show is. We're recording. It's Wednesday. They're not out, but we have probables. Aaron, to me, this looks like a wild and crazy race. Talk to me about what your opinions are on the Sam F. Davis.
You're right. It is going to be a little bit of a weird race. We've got a good mix of horses coming in from everywhere. That's kind of what happens in these races at Tampa Bay. And it's going to be wild. I project that Poster will be the favorite. Poster was the winner of the Remsen Stakes last time out at Aqueduct. That was a race that was a Kentucky Derby prep race as a 2-year-old. And he was able to win and stay undefeated. He's 3 for 3 lifetime, but he might be vulnerable here, Ryan.
Absolutely. I think he actually could be very vulnerable here. Flavian Pratt is going to be jumping off of him, guys. I don't know if you've seen this. It was announced by the DRF. He's going to be on John Hancock, who's a horse I really, really like, guys. In his last start, John Hancock won by 3 in a 6 furlong race at Tampa Bay Downs. He was geared down in a time of 109 4/5. That was 4/5 off of the track record. Mark, and I mean, that's exciting. I also liked that this was the first time that race, all right, that time that when he raced, I'm sorry. I also like that this was only the 3rd time Brad Cox has started a horse at Tampa since 2019. So maybe there's a plan here, Aaron. I kind of like that. He concerns me that it's only his 2nd start, though, of his career. And, to me, this could be just like, see if you're good enough, let's go. There's a lot of options. I'm not necessarily stuck on him, but what do you think of John Hancock?
Yeah, John Hancock, a horse, like you said, for Brad Cox. And what happened is Brad Cox brought horses to Florida for the first time in, I think, his whole career. I don't remember him ever having horses down there. And so some of them have shown up. And this was one that I think they thought, okay, we'll take the Tampa Bay route. We'll go a maiden at Tampa. We'll run in the Sam F. Davis, and then we'll run in the Tampa Bay Derby later on in the year. So, look, I think he's got a big shot. I think you're going to see improvement from his first race to his second race, just like Tappan Street did in the Holy Bowl last time out. last week, I should say, when we saw that. So Tappan Street did not win that race, but you saw a little bit of improvement. You saw how the horse could be. Maybe John Hancock's the same thing. Maybe he can actually win it if nobody else is in here that's all that good. So I think he'll run well. He's not going to be my top pick, but I do think he'll run well in this one.
I'm kind of with you at this second, Darren, because I was looking at the time forms. Why don't we talk about Owen Almighty, Camp Hale? Who else stuck out to you? Is there anyone else you want to mention?
Yeah, it's Owen Almighty for me. That's the horse I like on top in this race. So last time out, he raced here at Tampa Bay in a smaller stakes race. He crossed the line first, but he got disqualified. And I really looked at it as a major rider error. They kind of just came together at the top of the stretch. I think the rider could have kind of kept Owen Almighty away from that other horse a little bit better and still would have won the race and been okay. So I was really disappointed for the horse, even though the horse doesn't care. As long as you feed him, he's fine. But I was disappointed. I thought he should have won that race, there at Tampa, the Pasco. So he comes back here. He's stretching out in distance. I don't know that a mile 16th is his absolute best distance, but I do think he can run decent enough to win this race. I like him. I really liked him going into the last race, and he won, but again, got DQ'd. I think he comes back and runs well here. He's got the race over the Tampa Bay Downs track as well. That's an advantage for him. So Owen Almighty, I think that's the horse I'm going to go with on top. I really like him.
Yeah, and of course that can change when we see the field come out. But for now, I like that too. Naughty Rascal, who was a 1:14 time form, was impressive to me. Surprisingly, Treaty of Rome, who wasn't a horse I was very high on in the Mucho Macho Man loss. He's got a 109 time figure. That's very good. Camp Hale had a 111. Guys, to put it in perspective, Poster had a 100. It feels like he could shock me. He's working out great, but I'm a little worried, Aaron. I say you take a swing here, guys. Try to make some money, don't you?
Yeah, we don't know the prices yet because we don't have the morning line odds or anything. But two horses that you mentioned, Treaty of Rome, second last time out, but he should get better the longer they go. And then Camp Hale, keep an eye out for this horse. He's still a maiden, which means he's never won, but he's finished second to some really nice ones. I don't know that there's really nice horses in here. I don't think he's going to be intimidated, Ryan. So I would keep an eye out for Camp Hale and keep an eye out for what the price is going to be there. And then obviously with Treaty of Rome, a little bit more proven horse, keep an eye on him as well going longer.
Absolutely. Look, it's Derby season. Something crazy is always around the corner. It wouldn't shock me at all, guys. So go out there, bet. Hopefully we helped you a little bit with this preliminary because it's certainly a race we're both looking forward to. That is our show for the week. I want to thank you so much to everybody for tuning in. Good luck to everyone betting. Thank you again to my fantastic co-host, Aaron Halterman, who's always helping us cash. I'm Ryan Stillman, working for Big Play, having a blast out here. Hopefully see you on the 22nd. Thanks for talking track with us.